In this podcast episode, host Cody and guest David Senra delve into the complex personalities and unique mindsets of some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs. They explore topics including the challenges these founders face in personal relationships, the traits that make them unmanageable as employees, the importance of obsession and longevity, how simplicity and focus underpin enduring success, and the evolving role of technology and AI in entrepreneurship. The conversation also covers founder archetypes, managing complexity, and the nuanced relationship between passion, obsession, and control, providing a deep dive into the psychology and practical realities of entrepreneurial greatness. David Senra and Cody begin by discussing why many of the greatest entrepreneurs would not make ideal employees. Highlighting Steve Jobs' early eccentricities, showing up barefoot, working only at night, and exhibiting difficult behaviors, they discuss how Nolan Bush, the Atari founder and early Apple executive, accepted these flaws because the potential upside outweighed the downsides. Senra emphasizes that companies led by founders often hire for spikes, i.e., outstanding talent, despite unusual or challenging personality traits. This approach contrasts with traditional corporations that manage to the middle and favor conformity over exceptionalism. The conversation shifts to the often terrible personal and marital relationships of top founders. Senra points out how their obsessive drive and disagreeable personalities strain family life. Drawing on personal accounts from the documentary The Defiant Ones, which chronicles the entrepreneurial partnership of Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, he highlights the difficulties spouses face, as founders often prioritize work over relationships. He reasons that while trauma is common in entrepreneurs' backgrounds, it is not a prerequisite for success, as many are inherently unmanageable and obsessed individuals who cannot thrive under traditional employment or relationship norms. Senra tackles the idea that entrepreneurship is a trauma response, but offers a refreshing perspective. Many entrepreneurs are simply driven by an innate passion that chooses them rather than the other way around. He and Cody discuss the contagious nature of obsession and how it manifests differently among entrepreneurs. Some, like Michael Dell and Brad Jacobs, are obsessed with problem-solving and deal-making for decades, while others channel their passions into simpler businesses like Todd Graves, founder of Raising Cane's, whose success lies in relentless focus on perfecting a limited menu. Founder archetypes emerge here as a theme, emphasizing the need for entrepreneurs to understand their unique styles and work within those parameters. A recurring theme throughout the episode is the importance of durability and longevity. Senra expresses a disdain for fleeting success, citing Charlie Munger's view that enduring entrepreneurs think in decades. He points to guests on his new show who have run companies for decades, like Michael Dell, over 40 years, and Brad Jacobs, over 40 years with multiple billion-dollar companies. This long-term orientation demands obsession, patience, and relentless focus rather than quick exits. The example of Raising Cane's, which has maintained a simple concept for decades while compounding value, exemplifies this idea. The duo explores the power of simplicity in business. Rick Rubin's concept of ruthless editing in music production serves as a metaphor, cutting away everything but the core idea to create timeless work. This principle applies equally in business, illustrated by Raising Cane's and a small bagel shop with a minimalist menu that achieves extraordinary operational efficiency and customer loyalty. They emphasize that achieving such simplicity requires doing more work, iterating thousands of times, and the discipline to eliminate complexity and distraction. Senra introduces the concept of founder archetypes as a way to better understand entrepreneurial success. Knowing your archetype helps align founders with the problems they are suited to solve and the types of teams they thrive with. They discuss how different personalities and leadership styles, from visionary product creators like Steve Jobs to collaborative coaches like Daniel Ek of Spotify, shape how companies grow and succeed. Understanding these archetypes can prevent founders from emulating mismatched role models and instead build companies that echo their strengths. A defining quality of successful founders is their uncompromising personal standards. Senra quotes Steve Jobs on how a CEO's job includes instilling unreasonable confidence and pushing employees beyond their perceived capacity. Founders act as guardians of their company's soul, setting high bars for quality and excellence as default behaviors. While founders like Jobs may be viewed as difficult, those close to them, e.g., Ed Catmull of Pixar, note their growth over time in managing talent and relationships, underscoring that leadership requires both firmness and evolution. Contrary to the stereotype that entrepreneurs are obsessed with money, Senra argues that they are actually obsessed with control over what they work on, how they work, and who they work with. Money comes as a byproduct of solving valuable problems and maintaining that control. Sam Zell's philosophy exemplifies this. By keeping freedom, founders can focus on what they love, which leads to mastery and financial success. Zell also shares a unique perspective on wealth, that true luxury is having a private jet, which represents an irreplaceable freedom to optimize time. The conversation highlights how millionaires and billionaires maintain small, high-quality social and professional circles. Their associations are selective, preferring individuals who share ethics, values, and a commitment to winning without compromising integrity. Senra notes that the people around a founder influence their behaviors, decisions, and identity, reinforcing the old adage that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This discernment protects founders from distractions, ethical compromises, and unnecessary complexity. Obsession is described as infectious, energizing those around founders. Interactions with deeply passionate entrepreneurs, like Michael Dell, James Dyson, and others, produce a high-energy transfer that motivates and inspires. Senra likens the sensation to being high as a kite, comparable to an ecstatic, drug-free rush that fuels creative and relentless work. This contagious passion explains much about how visionary leaders mobilize and sustain teams over long innovation cycles. The discussion turns toward technological revolutions, particularly the current AI wave. Senra and Cody agree that the best definition of a business, solving a problem and improving someone's life, means infinite opportunities will always exist, regardless of technological shifts. They caution against overpredicting the future, but encourage adapting to enabling layers like AI, which Jeff Bezos compares to electricity, or the internet, foundational technologies that power countless unknown innovations. Entrepreneurs should integrate these tools into their workflows and focus on creating timeless value rather than chasing hype. A mutual theme is how complexity, whether in products, organizations, or strategies, is often self-sabotaging. Senra shares the wisdom of David Packard and Michael Dell, emphasizing that founders more commonly die from indigestion, overreach, complexity, than starvation, lack of prospects. Rick Rubin's philosophy of design within constraints and ruthless editing demonstrates how removing excess leads to clarity and longevity. The Walmart pricing anecdote epitomizes how bureaucracy and unnecessary layers undermine organizational performance, underscoring the need to beat complexity back across the line consistently. Senra shares intimate reflections on his experiences with luminaries like Sam Zell, James Dyson, Jeff Bezos, Jimmy Iovine, and others. He reveals how learning from their biographies and direct conversations has shaped his understanding and practice of entrepreneurship. These founders often remain learners until late in life, demonstrating obsession and energy well into their 70s and beyond. Senra recounts moments illustrating their humility, humor, contradictions, and depth, offering a nuanced picture far beyond caricatures. The hosts touch on maintaining personal passions outside of entrepreneurship. Cody admits to a love of smutty fairy books, blending passion with unusual niches that thrive through persistent enthusiasm. The importance of loving one's work is underscored repeatedly. Once you control your work and align it with what you love, mastery grows and financial success often follows. This alignment is presented as a key driver for enduring happiness, not just business achievement. Finally, Senra and Cody discuss their shared commitment to high standards in creating podcasts and related content, including custom ad reads that integrate organically into episodes. Both emphasize the value of concentration, focus, and relentless refinement as much at the execution level as in business strategy. They also reflect on how practicing and iterating over years hones intuition and deep understanding, making complex ideas accessible and valuable to listeners. Throughout, the conversation repeatedly contrasts start, scale, sell, quick flip mentalities with building companies and lives of lasting significance. Senra highlights that many founders he admires view their work as creating something meaningful for decades, aiming for impact that transcends weighty financial metrics. This perspective involves accepting personal sacrifices, but also finding fulfillment through deep engagement, ongoing learning, and meaningful human connections.